estimating what we do.
Good evening. I would like to call this meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education for February 20th, 2023 to order. Members of the board, please make note that the agenda will need to be amended. First, under the Human Resources Services Committee, please remove the action item that is on your agenda that is being tabled until the March meeting. And if you look at action items under Instructional Services Committee, please remove revised policy 6220, operation of school nutrition services. And please note that you were left a change in the student fees at your desk to replace the one that had been in your packet earlier today. Given those changes, the chair will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell,
I move that we approve the agenda with the stated amendments for tonight's February the 20th, 2023 Wilson County Board of Education meeting.
Second.
it has been moved by Mrs. Powell, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the amended agenda be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Please know that this meeting is being televised on Spectrum and Greenlight Channel 22 and live streamed through the Wilson County Schools YouTube channel. The public can also view the meeting through the links on the Wilson County Schools Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, and the Wilson County Schools website. If you would, Mrs. Barnes, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to be followed by a moment of silence.
Stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, the agenda calls for the approval of the minutes of January 23rd, 2023 regular board meeting. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Boyette?
I move that we approve the minutes of board meeting, is it just one this time? Just that, January 23rd, 23.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Boyette, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the minutes of the January 23rd, 2023 regular meeting be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Dr. Mills and Mrs. Barnes, if you would please share the good news.
Board members, audience members, tonight we've got lots of great celebrations, and the first one we're extremely excited and proud about, and that is that 9 of our educators have either earned or renewed their national board certification, which is a really big deal. So that's a huge accomplishment. National board certification is an advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. Wilson County Schools currently has 60 educators with the certification, and North Carolina leads the nation with 23,858 educators who are national board certified. We are very proud of these educators, and we want to take a moment to share a little more about them. If they would come down front when we recognize them, I know they were waiting for that. So first is Ms. Christine Gilmore from Jones Elementary. Hey, Ms. Gilmore. Ms. Horn. And we've got more for you right here. Ms. Boyd will help us. Ms. Gilmore earned her initial National Board certification for literacy, reading, language arts, early and middle childhood. Please don't make me read that again. Initial National Board certification. Since this is her initial certification, we also have a door plate for her to hang outside her classroom. Please don't attempt that at home. We will come help you with that. Okay? Congratulations, Christine. No, you got to stay for a bit. No, see, I knew that's what you would do. I knew it. You tried. Next is Miss Margarita Arjona de Haitama from Gardners and Hearn Elementary. Ms. Haitama maintained her existing certification for English as a new language early and middle childhood. Congratulations, Ms. Haitama. Julia Bass from Pike High School. I saw her back there. Ms. Bass maintained her existing certification for science early adolescence. Keith Byram. Oh, there's Keith. Keith Byram from Hunt High School maintained his existing certification for science, adolescence, and young adulthood. Elizabeth Driver from Rock Ridge Elementary School maintained her existing certification for art/early and middle childhood. Angela Nance from Hunt High School maintained her existing certification for English language arts early adolescence. Emily Smith from Rock Ridge Elementary maintained her existing certification for music/early and middle childhood. Sharon Sullivan from Wells Elementary maintained her existing certification for generalist/middle childhood. And Catrice Brown from WECA maintained her existing certification for English language arts, adolescence, and young adulthood. Again, this is a big deal with a lot of work, not only from their first initial and the recertification, but this also represents a lot of work for their families. I know that help. We were talking about taping earlier. It's not so much taping now as it is all the other things. But it is a really big deal, and we're very proud of them, and congratulations. And we want you to continue on with that. So we need to take pictures and all that good stuff. So do not run until Amber gets your pictures. So congratulations.
form a wall, so I'm not in the speaker.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's perfect.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Now they don't have to go home and do homework for national boards anymore. And the next recognition we have tonight is for the School Nutrition Association's Georgetown Executive Leadership Program. If Miss Jamie Nairn would come up. We're very excited to recognize Executive Director of School Nutrition, Jamie Nairn, tonight. She has been selected to attend the School Nutrition Association's Georgetown Executive Leadership Program. Ms. Nairn is one of only 50 school nutrition directors from across the nation who were selected to attend, and she's the only director representing North Carolina. The session is March 4th, entitled Reimagining and Reshaping the Future of the School Nutrition Profession, a Design Thinking Approach. The program will be held at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and it's known for its excellence in preparing the business world's most respected leaders. Participants who were selected to attend were nominated by their peers, which makes it even more impressive when your skills are recognized and respected by others in your field. We're proud of Ms. Nairn and thankful to have her as a part of our Wilson County Schools team. So congratulations, Jamie. You have to bring us all back sweatshirts from Georgetown. This next individual that we're recognizing tonight is being recognized for his Mayor's Heroes Initiative. That kind of gives it away. But Mayor Carlton Stevens, if he would come forward. There's no way to hide it. Mr. Stevens. Come on up. Let me tell you about what Mayor Stevens has been up to. Tonight, we want to recognize Wilson Mayor Carlton Stevens for his support of our teachers. Mayor Stevens is a former teacher and administrator, and he wanted to do something to show educators how much he appreciates their hard work. Through his Mayor's Heroes Initiative, he has been surprising a beginning teacher each month at their school and presenting them with a certificate and a check for $250 from his own pocket. He started a similar initiative prior to the pandemic and has been wanting to bring it back. On October 14th, he surprised the first recipient, Jones Elementary EC teacher Lindsay Pitt. In the following months, he's busy. He surprised Spate Middle Science teacher Holly Williams, Hunt High EC teacher Annika Jasek Risedal, and Hearn Elementary first grade teacher Chastity Searcy. Last week, he surprised M City Middle 7th grade social studies teacher Caitlin Woker. The winners are chosen at random from among our beginning teachers who are in their first 3 years in the classroom. Mayor Stevens told each of the teachers there's one catch with the money. They have to spend it on themselves. And if you know our teachers, that's kind of a hard thing to do. They always put it back in the classrooms. At first, when they're called to the office, and I don't know why this is, and see Mayor Stevens, the teachers are quiet and nervous because they're not sure what's happening. But once he explains how much he appreciates them and the purpose for his visit, the teachers start beaming and often become emotional. It means the world to them to be recognized because while teaching is a rewarding career, it's also very challenging, especially when you're just starting out. Our beginning teacher coordinators have shared that the surprise selections seem to hit at just the right time for the chosen teachers, right when they could really use a boost. So we're thankful for Mayor Stevens' support of our beginning teachers and our district as a whole. Congratulations. We really appreciate you, Mayor Stevens. That's okay. Hey, look, I'm back. Yeah, same problem.
Okay.
Congratulations. Thanks, Mayor Stevens.
Always happy to celebrate the good news. Next on the agenda is the chairman's report. First of all, I'd like to take a moment to ask you to join me in remembrance of two persons who have greatly affected Wilson County Schools. First is Jimmy Tillman, our athletic director, who passed away suddenly unexpectedly, and County Commissioner Bill Blackman, who also passed very unexpectedly and suddenly. I know that we've already had a moment of silence, but please join me in a moment of silence yet again in remembrance of these two gentlemen who have impacted Wilson County as a whole. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to remind the members of the board that coming up is the ribbon cutting, woo-hoo, for Watt Academy, Wilson Academy of Applied Technology. It is going to be held on March the 2nd at 5:15. And shortly after that, the Wilson Community College will be going on spring break, and that will be the transition time and the moving time for our students, so that when they finish their spring break, because they follow the schedule of the community college, when they come back from spring break, they will have the opportunity of walking through the doors of the Watt Academy. And so we are terribly, terribly excited. When we broke ground, we were excited, but now that we're getting ready to put the students into the building itself, we are doubly ecstatic. So please, if board members, if you don't have that on your calendar, please mark that. And members of the community, we are excited to have this finally come to fruition. And let me thank Ms. Cornetta and Pointer Spruill for agreeing to sponsor our team at the WEP Spelling Bee Trivia event coming up on March the 14th at Hunt High School. Mr. Borkin has already agreed that he's going to join the team, so we need 2 more board members to make sure that we are there. And I'm going to thank you, Ms. Cornetta, on behalf of the administration, because they are graciously sponsoring Dr. Mills and Company. So we're going to be competing against them, and no special treatment. Yes.
You're right.
So that concludes the chairman's report, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mills for his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, audience members, as Dr. Fitch mentioned, last week was a hard week for all of us here in the school system with sudden passing of Jimmy Tillman. I wanted to take a moment and again offer condolences to his family and friends. He will definitely be missed, and he served our district for 34 years as a teacher, a coach, administrator, and was currently our district's athletic director, and he was, above all, a good friend to everyone. It was a wonderful memorial service Saturday at Fike High School, and I want to thank our staff members who helped make sure all those arrangements went well and assisted with Joyner's funeral home. I wanted to mention too to everyone that the family also created a scholarship in Mr. Tillman's honor, and details of that scholarship fund can be found on social media sites and throughout the Wilson Education Partnership that Robin Williams helped pull that together. I also send condolences to Bill Blackman's family and friends and the county commissioners. Great support of our school system. So it was a tough week all the way around last week. Since our last regular board meeting, we celebrated the 100th day of school. You may have seen some advanced aging going on in our kindergarten classrooms. I don't know what happens every time around the 100th day. It looks just really different. It was Bus Driver Appreciation Week, School Resource Officer Day, School Counseling Week, and we're continuing to celebrate Black History Month in our schools. Our early colleges accepted applications for the incoming freshman class, which again, one of those freshman classes, we're headed to the new Watt. And we've also had several family engagement events focused on social emotional learning and preparing for high school. So there's a lot of good work that continues to happen in our classrooms. And I'm proud of our students and staff that stay focused and put into work to the end of the year, because it is coming up quickly. I also wanted to thank Susan Barnes with the North Carolina Farm Bureau for donating books to our elementary schools. She's a retired teacher, and she connected with Miss BOE to make the donation. And we're always excited to get books, at least at my house we are, and I know that goes through our schools, but it means so much to have her support, and she's donated books the past few years. This year's, the title was I Love Strawberries by Shannon Anderson, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's about a young girl who loves strawberries and is determined to grow them herself. And it's entertaining, educational, and students learn about gardening techniques and how to grow and how to manage strawberries, as well as the threats to them, which aren't just us eating them. Our students are enjoying the book, and we appreciate Ms. Barnes' generous donation. So if you see her, please let her know on behalf of Susan and the Farm Bureau, we appreciate the books, as well as Ms. Boyette for making that connection for our students. Board members, I'll remind you of the ribbon cutting on March 2nd for the new Watt. We're excited to officially open the building, and that will begin at 5:30, and will include some light refreshments and a tour. I will tell you, the furniture arrived last week, and everything is really coming together, and it will be very exciting for everyone to see the finished product, and the students will see a much different Watt when they return from spring break, which means there's a lot of things that are going to happen from the time they go home and the time they come back within that week setting, so we've been planning for that. We also wanted to share some more information about our upcoming Educator Job Fair. If you're interested in teaching for Wilson County Schools, our job fair is Saturday, March 11th, between 9 and noon at Darden. We'll have representatives from all of our schools, and preliminary interviews will be held on site. That has worked well for us in the past. We only ask the attendees bring their copies of their most recent transcript, and so we're ready to welcome some new educators and new faces to our district. High school seniors, if you have a high school senior, they're invited to attend the Next Gen hiring event on February 23rd from 2 to 6 p.m. in the Eagle Center on the campus of Wilson Community College. That's hosted by the Wilson Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Greenlight. At that event, seniors can explore vacancies that are current for the careers in Wilson, and interviews will also be held on site. It's free to attend, and we'd ask that seniors register in advance. The link can be found on our Chamber of Commerce site, as well as our district website and social media sites. And thanks to the companies who agreed to be there to interview and present occupational choices and career vacancies for our students, because as you know, that's a transitional time, and we always want our folks to stick around. And board members, you have a flyer at your seat about your upcoming Whirly Wellness Fair. Please don't say that 3 times. On March 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Whirligig Park. The purpose of that event is to provide community with various resources that support overall wellness and behavioral, social, emotional, and physical health. It's free, and everyone is invited to attend, so we want you to share it out. We have a large number of vendors who will be there, and there will also be games, activities, a DJ, and the all-county chorus will be performing. That event is funded through the Strong Schools North Carolina COVID-19 testing funding that our district received a few months ago. We shared back during the November 22nd, 22 board meeting. We had received a little over $1 million in funds, so the cost of the Whirly Wellness Fair will only be a very small portion of those funds. And we want to thank our folks that put that together for everyone to participate in. Again, you've got a flyer at your area to share out. Madam Chair, that's all my information.
Thank you so much. It is the point on our agenda where the public is given the opportunity to share their input. Each person is granted 3 minutes for his or her presentation. This portion of the meeting is for the board to hear matters of interest from the public. However, obscene or vulgar statements, personal attacks, and statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or imminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting will not be permitted. We have 4 persons who have signed up to address the board. The first is Dr. Charles Bayo regarding school policy questions.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to ask a couple of questions about the Wilson Area School Health Center, also called the WASH programs. A couple questions. Do parents have access to their child's medical records at the parent's discretion? What organizations are involved in funding the clinics? Are parents notified when their child goes to the clinic? Are parents informed of the diagnosis and plan of care for their child prior to it being implemented? How many more clinics is the board planning to establish? What is an advanced practice provider, and what are their credentials? In the literature for the WASH program, it states, quote, "The goal of the Wilson County School-Based Health Center is to help students succeed in school by promoting healthy lifestyles and providing comprehensive health care to meet the needs of all students," end quote. With regards to this, what specifically is meant by healthy lifestyle, and by what criteria is healthy lifestyle defined? Is there a protocol for evaluating and treating children with gender dysphoria? If there is, please give a detailed description of the protocol. Please supply detailed information as to the laws, regulations, rules, and policies that allow Wilson County School Board to implement the school health clinics. Do Wilson County schools participate in the Social Health Assessment and Performance Evaluation, also known as SHAPE program? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patricia Lucas, regarding concerns at Bedingfield.
Hey, good evening. A couple of concerns I have about the dress code at Bedingfield specifically because it's different at Fike and Hunt. My daughter was put in ISS for a pair of yoga pants with pockets, which we were told she could wear, and I was never notified. I was notified by my daughter by text and not an adult. Very concerned about that. I went to the school, obviously, and to bring her a pair of pants, and got into a little altercation, verbal altercation with the principal. I was told that it wasn't specifically her pants. The point was that when she bent over, her bottom could be seen. So that's a little concerning and creepy for me. I also have had several concerns regarding she was taken out of class, number one, to be put in ISS. She's been wearing these pants since January. We were told she could wear them. So I don't know what made Thursday be the day. The other thing was she was pulled out of a class, her math class, earlier in January so that they could tell her that they would like her to try to do a different math class because she was doing too good in the math class she was in. My daughter, being brought up to not disrespect adults, went with it, was very unhappy about being put in another class, and so never notified by an adult for that. No counselor. I called her counselor. The counselor said she didn't know anything about it and that she would find out. So my concern is that she's being targeted. There were several students when I walked into the school with the same exact pants on. I have several pictures, several letters. His concern is that that he told the students he doesn't want to have to see any lady parts. The other thing was he went over the intercom Friday and said that he didn't care what parent came there and fussed him out, went on Facebook and fussed him out, went to the Wilson County School Board and fussed about it, that the rules were the rules and they knew the rules. The other concern I have is that the rules shouldn't be different at every high school. They should all be the same. Wilson County School Board says that the pants can't be tight-fitting clothes. Well, that's obviously not being enforced. So my concern is, number one, why is it being enforced just at Bedingfield? Why is it being enforced just with my daughter when you can clearly walk through there even today? The other concern is I came to the school board, nobody was available. I did get called and basically nothing I can do. Just wondering why one principal can choose the rules for one school and not the other schools.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lucas. Next is Pastor Michael Woodard regarding policy 6220.
I'll make this very brief. Thank you all for your service to the Wilson County school system. I am a graduate of the Wilson County school system from elementary to high school. Seeing that the policy has been removed, 6220 has been removed, I have no further comments, just that we'll see if the policy comes back up again, but we certainly thank all of you for your service.
Thank you. And the last is Kathy Webb regarding safety of students.
Yes, good evening, and I also too would like to thank you all for what you do because you have a hard job. But I am concerned about the safety of the children, and I don't know what's being done. I don't have any children in school. But one thing that's always in the news is bullying. My question is, and I know there's probably bullying in schools all the time, but how long do you allow a student to stay in school that's bullying someone? Because I've heard some people that are bullied every day at school, and that's just nothing that a child should have to put up with every day at school. So I would like to know how that's addressed and how long the student gets to remain in school, how many times he gets to bully before he gets suspended from school. That's one of my questions. And then next is intruders. I know one time I was here and you talked about metal detectors. I would like to know if there are metal detectors in the schools now because there's so many things happening around the state and around the world. But I also, since I was at Fike for 23 years, there are so many entrances to Fike. I mean, there's 5 or 6 entrances. How would you go about preventing an intruder from entering all the doors of Fike High School, for instance? Because it hasn't happened here yet, but we hear about it every day. So those are just the 2 questions that I would have. And then I also had, what is your gender identity policy and sexually explicit books in the libraries? I hope that's being watched. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm sorry, there was one oversight, Jane Cookson, regarding policy and content transparency.
Thank you. And thank you to this board. You guys are doing some really good things, especially with higher level education. That's impressive. And so thank you for that. And I hope to attend the opening for that. That sounds exciting. Good evening. My name is Jane Cookson. First, one thing I'd like to do this evening is introduce our newly formed Moms for Liberty, Wilson County, North Carolina chapter. Moms for Liberty is a national organization that has grown to 270 chapters in just 2 years. There are 17 chapters in North Carolina. Our county chapter is getting started with board members Chuck Baio, Lindsay Cookson, Sue Glisson, Pastor Michael Woodard, Sarah Ritter, and myself. Moms for Liberty is dedicated to fighting for the survival of America by unifying, educating, and empowering parents to defend their parental rights at all levels of government. Now to get to my topic for this evening, policy transparency. We learned that in early February, a letter was sent to John Wesley Jones Elementary School parents notifying them of a social emotional learning survey and offering them an opt-out option. It's a good thing. However, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the explanation of that. We also learned in the communication that the state is partnering with Panorama Education to support administration of this survey. The survey description reads, in order to learn more about student experiences at school, we will be asking for your child's feedback via an online survey regarding social emotional learning. The survey content will ask students to self-reflect on self-management, social awareness, self-efficacy, emotional regulation, and supportive relationships. We don't know what this means. We recommend that the Wilson County Board of Education set up an easy-to-find link to the actual survey questions. This would eliminate ambiguity and confusion and provide real and substantial clarification, offering parents the necessary knowledge to make informed decisions on whether or not they should allow their child to opt out. We also recommend a clear statement of what the state and Panorama Education plans to do with the data it collects from this survey. Another transparency issue. We were able to easily locate this evening's Board of Education agenda. Thank you for that, but we could not find a link to the proposed policy changes. And we'd like to recommend that the board include a link to the proposed changes along with the Board of Education agenda. And that way we can look at the changes and see what it is the board is discussing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Members of the board, and we thank the public for their comments and input. What is your pleasure in regard to the speakers this evening? Do you want to direct the chairman to respond to the concern on behalf of the board? Direct the administration to respond to the concern? Refer the matter to a board committee? Refer the matter to the administration, or place the matter of concern on the agenda for a future meeting? What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell?
I move that we direct the administration to handle the public input, excuse me.
I agree.
All right. A couple of the board members have suggested that we direct the administration to respond. Is that the sentiment of the board as a whole?
Yes.
All right. Dr. Mills and administration, we're going to ask each of you, ask you to respond to each of the persons who addressed the board this evening. The next on our agenda calls for committee reports. Human Resource Services Committee, Mrs. Barnes.
Board members, the HR committee met this afternoon, and members present were Ms. Boyette Boykin, Dr. Fitch, Mr. Breen, Mr. Mercer, and administration. There was one information item, and that was the National Board Support Update. Let me begin by referring you back to what is National Board Certification. I think Dr. Mills already this afternoon or this evening told us exactly what National Board is, and it is a voluntary process and provides advanced teaching credentials that goes well beyond your state licensure. Certification details and eligibility along with certification areas were also explained. You have teachers and counselors who must have a 4-year degree and a minimum of 3 years teaching and a continuing teaching license. There are 25 possible certifications with 4 developmental levels: early childhood, middle childhood, early childhood through young adulthood, and early adolescence through young adulthood. Those are the areas. During the initial certification, there is a computer-based assessment. There are portfolio entries, differentiation of instruction, teaching practices, classroom environment, and being an effective and reflective practitioner. There is a maintenance component that was formerly called the renewal process that covers professional growth experiences, expansion of one of the areas of growth professionally, and the cost of National Board is $1,900 yearly with a registration fee of $75. Retakes for every component is at the cost of $475, and the maintenance of certification is a 5-year cycle. And there is also each year a $495 fee for retakes and a registration fee of $75. Wilson County Schools applied for COVID-19 through the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards Certificate Fee Reimbursement Grant Program. It's a mouthful. These funds are designated to reimburse teachers in qualifying school districts for the cost of their participation in national boards. In December of 2022, 4 Wilson County school teachers applied for and they received funds that totaled up to $1,900. In each fiscal year through September 30th, 2024, Wilson County School plans to apply for PRC as funds become available. Also, they noted importantly that New certified educators must submit a Wilson County National Board reimbursement form in order to receive the $1,900 reimbursement. And during the 22-23, one newly certified educator had applied for funds totaling up to $1,900. There are continuous support sessions available for our National Board certified teachers, and they are in the fall and in the spring, and ongoing as needed throughout the year. And there is really good district support for National Board certification. So any parent should be proud that their child is being taught by another exceptional teacher through national boards, along with those other exceptional teachers that we have. At the present, we have 60 National Board certified teachers, and it has resulted in increasing student learning. And there is a $5,612 per year increase in pay, which is very, very interesting, and hopefully will cause some of our teachers to want to get nationally board certified. And the last thing they did for us today was they gave us a cohort data sheet. They gave us a retention update on the beginning teachers from the year 2019 through 2020. And the data looks really good. It does not look like we're losing a lot of our beginning teachers. And one other thing I failed to mention was, one of the things that Wilson County Schools expects is that all teachers will remain in Wilson County Schools for at least 2 years after having received reimbursement or funds for the National Board certification. And Madam Chair, that was the only item that we had for this afternoon's meeting.
All right, thank you so much. Next is the Administrative Services Committee. Mr. Mercer.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee met this afternoon. We had 2 information items, 2 action items. The first information item was contracts requiring board notification. And that was a contract in NCS North Carolina Sound to put the sound and camera systems, including fiber networks, funded through North Carolina Center for Safer Schools Safety Grant and local funds. If Dr. Williams, I'm trying to remember the safety funds grant, but we had local funds also.
Yes, sir. So, it was mainly funded by the school safety grant, $72,000.
Okay. And that was for Spate Middle School, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Most of the board members were present at the committee meeting. Any comments or additions anyone would like to make? Yes, ma'am.
In response to some of our public input, not direct response, but just, this would be an easy way to point out that we are using safety funds that were acquired last year and continuously as we get those to put in new camera systems at every one of our schools. And that's one of the ways that we are addressing safety at the schools by having, top of the line cameras on every areas, doors, halls, parking lots, if I'm wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
All of those areas, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And as we upgrade to the IP camera systems, that's what we're moving to, is this camera system. Yes, ma'am.
And it's recorded, so.
And,
yeah.
and as we'll see with some of the other contracts that we'll mention in just a moment, we're working towards being able to notify the parties that need to be notified, especially in cases when parents need to be notified. It can be done quickly. And notifications within the schools, like for if there's a lockdown or just precautions to take and so forth. So, and that won't always be one one notification fits all. It can be modified to fit the occasions, different, scenarios. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Hearing none, we will go to the 2023-2024 local current expense and capital outlay budgets. And Dr. Williams, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but basically, the budgets have been left the same as this year because we don't know when we'll find out what the allocations are from the legislature. But we did, in our plans, add some percents to the benefits and things that are out to change.
Yes, sir, we did add, for retirement, 10%, that's an estimate, as well as 7% for hospitalization. Property insurance increased by 32,000, 4,000 for vehicle insurance, and athletics, 104,000. So these were all increases, most of them based on just percentages that we're just estimating for next year's budget.
Board members, any comments or questions? Okay, moving to our action items. First action item is contracts requiring board approval. We had one with EB Sports to provide athletic equipment to Bedding Field, Hunt, and Fike, and for $185,547 and some cents. Any questions, comments regarding that? Hearing none.
Was that a motion?
No, I'll make the motion. You were so quick in the committee meeting. On behalf of the Administrative Service Committee, I move full board approve the contract with EB Sports regarding athletic equipment for Bedding Field, Hunt, and Fike High at $185,547
Kend.
and 51 cents.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the board approve the contract for EB Sports for athletic equipment for Bedding Field, Fike, and Hunt High Schools in the amount of $185,547.51. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I need to recuse, not vote on this contract.
Okay.
Do I have to state a reason? No, you
Do we have to take any action regarding that? You don't. Okay.
All right. Please note that a recusal has been asked for by Mrs. Borkin, meaning, I'm sorry, Mrs. Boyette. I'm sitting here looking at EB Sports knowing that's Borkin. Okay, sorry, my error. Whew.
Okay.
Mrs. Boyette has been recused from the vote. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries 6-0 due to the recusal of Mrs. Boyette. Mr. Mercer?
Our second contract that requires board approval is NCS North Carolina Sound, which is a mass notification system. And again, Dr. Williams, please correct me or clarify, but this is for the three high schools, Hunt, Fike, and Bedding Field, and the middle schools, to have installed the mass notification system, which in fact will also upgrade and probably replace the intercom system within the school, and also have connections beyond the school for emergencies and as it's needed.
Yes, sir, that's correct. And the mass notification system, again, just, as you were saying, Mr. Mercer, does do just that, is that it notifies for a critical incident. It could be lockdown, it could be a tornado drill, anything that emergency action needs to be taken. And that notification can be tailored to our specifications to make sure that we're properly notifying those of an incident at the school.
Any comments, questions from board members before? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move that we approve the NCS North Carolina Sound Mass Notification System for the 3 traditional high schools and the middle schools at $737,277.32.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer. We have a triple second, Mr. Borkin, Mr. Breen, and Mrs. Powell, that we approve the NCS North Carolina Sound contract for service of mass notification systems for each of our high schools and for each of our middle schools in the amount of $737,277.32. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Mr. Mercer?
Yes, ma'am. Our second and final action item was additional salary supplements for certified staff, which, this past year, I think, was $1,099. And it has been recommended by administration that we approve, this supplement, but the amount is not certain until we determine what we're allocated and the number of eligible recipients, which it'll be divided equally, but it was just shared that last year it was $1,099. So somebody can have, people can have an idea.
And these funds are coming from the state.
Yes. Any comments, questions? Madam Chair?
One more comment.
Oh, excuse me.
And whenever we get whatever we'll get and divide it by the number that are eligible, it will be in their March check.
Correct. Thank you. Anyone else? Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of Administrative Service Committee, I move that the full board approve the additional supplement to be determined by the number of recipients and the amount of money allocated by the state.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by both Mrs. Powell and Mr. Breen, that we approve the additional salary supplement for certified staff as approved by the state. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the Instructional Services Committee. Mr. Vice Chair, I will turn over to you in just a moment for the purpose of my making motions. We had 2 informational items that were presented to the committee this afternoon. Revised Policy 2120, Code of Ethics for School Board Members. This is a first read policy. We had discussion on that. It is simply the insertion of a few words, and there were no questions at this time. It will come before us for a second reading at next month's meeting. The second informational item was revised policy 3460, graduation requirements. This too is just by virtue of being consistent, indicating children of military families. So it's just a slight phrase alteration to what was already there. This too is a first read and will come to the board again for a second read at next month's meeting. Now, Mr. Vice Chair, I'll turn the meeting over to you for our action report.
Yes, ma'am.
The first action item was student fees for 2023-2024 school year. You had a change that was placed at your table space since the meeting occurred. It is the regarding the parking fees, senior fees, technology fees, and yearbook fees for the system. Each of the high schools has a senior fee of $60. There is a tech fee for $30 for the year. You will note that there are instances where those fees will not be applicable if students receive free or reduced lunch or have their application submitted. In that case, the fees can be waived, and the schools set their individual yearbook costs if they do indeed have a yearbook. It is the recommendation of the Instructional Services Committee that the Wilson County Schools proposed fees for the 2023-2024 academic year be approved.
Okay,
Did I make
Madam
the
Chair,
motion? Okay.
I mean, excuse me, yes, Madam Chair. It's been moved, and properly seconded that we approve as a full board the recommendation for school fees. Any further comments or questions?
I have a
Yes, ma'am.
Will you clarify for me on the technology fee? I understand the asterisk that means if they are approved for free or reduced lunch, it can be waived. At schools that are, is it the community block grant, is that correct? At the community block grant, if you are getting free lunch, because everyone in the school is getting, how does that impact the tech fee?
So the community eligibility schools, students that are direct certified, which means they receive direct services, would qualify for the fee to be waived, but that would not be every child in the school. The community eligibility provision provides free lunch for those students, but not a waived tech fee for those students.
So if anyone at those schools wanted to, they would have to fill out the paper or online form and be approved?
They could actually pick up a letter that states that they receive direct services from our child nutrition office, and that letter would waive their tech fees.
Okay, I'm confused about that.
Well-
Okay, direct certification comes from DSS, am I correct? Okay, is there another direct certification?
No, that's it, but our child nutrition office houses that information, so they can release a letter certifying, if you will, that the family receives direct services. And if they receive direct services and they qualify, they have the tech fee waived. And that's through a governmental assistance.
Okay, but that, okay, so they're just verifying what DSS is saying. They are not saying they get free lunch through a community block grant and are waived.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, I think it was properly moved and seconded that full board approve the fees. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It passes unanimously.
Mr. Vice Chair, there were several policies that were read at the last meeting that are now for second reading. We had the second reading. Those policies are Policy 2123, Board Member Opportunities for Development. Policy 3420, Student Promotion and Accountability. 3430, School Improvement Plan. Policy 3620, Extracurricular Activities and Student Organizations. 4110, Immunization and Health Requirements for School Admission. 4155, Assignment to Classes. Policy 4400, Attendance. Policy 6140, Student Wellness. And Policy 7130, Licensure. On behalf of the Instructional Services Committee, I move that those policies be approved.
Second.
It's been moved properly seconded that the full board approve as a second reading on all of these. Policy 2123, Policy 3420, Policy 3430, policy 3620, policy 4110, policy 4155, policy 4400, policy 6140, and policy 7130. Any further discussion or questions?
Just a brief comment.
Yes, sir.
I think it's important to note that these policies are substantially the same as as they were when they were originally enacted by this board. The only revisions that they entail are stylistic revisions and revisions of statutory language or other regulatory law language. But the policies themselves are still substantially the same.
This substance-wise is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It passes unanimously, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mercer. Mrs. Barnes.
Madam Chair and Board, I move that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statute 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G to establish or give instructions concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and or lease of real property as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A5 and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mrs. Boyette and Mr. Mercer, that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 323. To consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20, United States Code 1232G, to establish or give instructions concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and or lease of real property as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A5 and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned to closed session.